I recognize myself to first ask questions. And I want to pick up on what Mr. Fernandez said about the Chinese predatory tactics. So let me talk about how the significant challenge we face today is China's ability to flood global markets with low-cost criminal critical minerals, leveraging state-backed subsidies. For example, nickel prices have fallen 75% in the last several years because of the Chinese oversupply. So let me ask this question to Senator Manchin. Why does China's chokehold on critical minerals threaten the U.S. economic competitiveness and national security? And if you can talk about to what extent can domestic production reduce this dependence, and why is international engagement still essential?
When you look at what we're dealing with and look in history, 20th century, beginning of the 20th century, the United States became a powerhouse because of our energy. Back then it was relied upon on coal, made the steel, we did an awful lot of things, and we basically pulled ourselves out of poverty, became an industrial leader. That was necessary for us to have reliable, dependable, affordable energy. Today, critical minerals is the same as that energy was needed back in the 20th century. So in the 21st century, the new boom is going to be basically critical minerals. Well, everything that we do depends on these superconductors and the magnets and all the different things and special alloys and steels that we use. Those are building blocks where I think that we've made a mistake, that we should have trade agreements and we should have basically penalties with tariffs in order to protect our building blocks. That's it. Everything else should be used as an incentive to do trade. But protecting basically our allies and countries across the world that we can rely on. And we have a chain of allies that we can depend on. You have Canada, tremendous cachet of rare earth minerals. Australia, tremendous cachet. United States, possibility of a tremendous cachet we weren't allowed to mine and process. And then you have Japan and South Korea able to do refining. We have a building block right there that we could start and get in the game very quickly. You got to let the private sector in. We can't take this debt on, continue to take all these debts on and the risk. Those are the things. And what happens, if you let China control that, it'll be no different than what Putin tried to do with oil and gas and our allies, same thing. So you've got to have independence.
And then ask Mr. Fannin similar questions too. Given China's capacity to undercut the competitors, what policies can we consider to shield domestic and allied mineral producers from predatory pricing tactics?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think this is key. What I don't think we can do is rely on traditional conventional norms and practices because China rejects them. Senator spoke about the rare earth dispute in 2010. And the response from the United States at the time, along with Europe and Japan, was to initiate a WTO action against China. It took 2 years for that to be concluded, and it found what we knew, China was cheating. But in that interim, China dumped material onto the market and killed the economic basis for that company, so they went out of business. So what we have to do is a new way of thinking about these things. In terms of what the steps we should pursue, one of those would be, and the Senator mentioned tariffs, I think targeted tariffs is exactly the right approach. China, according to the International Energy Agency, recently concluded that China's cost of capital is 50% less than anywhere else in the world to do a mining project. That's very hard to compete with. Second, the issues on how they do their business. It's very opaque. We don't know how they do their business. It's hard to see. What we know is that they violate environmental and human rights all the time. And actually last year, the Department of Labor issued a report underscoring that. I think a higher degree of scrutiny is important. It could create differential pricing. We always talk about having a green premium because there will be a commodity produced in a way with lower carbon. But industry is reluctant to pay more for it if they're competing against a commodity at a lower cost. Rather than ask U.S. Industry and U.S. companies to pay more, we should try to level the playing field. I think the administration is keen to do that by making the costs increasing the costs on the Chinese side. At the same time, we have a pacing challenge. The Senator noted the amazing resource abundance in America. It takes a long time to develop a mine. We have to go where the rocks are and where there's a political will to develop them. So it'll be a combination of domestic side, market interventions on pricing, but also to create a favorable environment to develop mines in some of these resource-rich jurisdictions and the mobilization of entities like the DFC.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions to ask you, so hopefully we'll have a second chance to come around questioning. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to my ranking member to ask questions.